Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. Well, I'm coming to you on a Wednesday, May 6th. Straight out of the Midwest, St. Louis, Missouri, where we are having a cold front. One thing about this Midwestern weather in spring and entering the early part of summer, one day can be 85 degrees, the next day it could be 55. And today, as we speak, it is 53 degrees. Today it is supposed to be a high of 63 and a low of 42. It's been raining for the last 3 days, and the Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers game yesterday got canceled due to a rainout. Lots of rain and over the last few days. So your lawn, the grass, the trees, they are getting their fill of thirst and water. So today I want to get into this story. This is a crazy story about a young lady, 32 years old, who was the mastermind of a $10 million Amazon fraud scheme. And she got sentenced to 16 years in federal prison. This story has to do with a black female, 32 years old, named Kyrika Wortham, who was an operations manager at Amazon warehouse in Smyrna, Georgia. This case was created. This case is all about fake vendors and fake invoices to the tune of almost $10 million. This young lady was a smart young lady out of Georgia, had a 3.4 grade point average in high school. She attended Georgia State University. Very smart young lady, could have been a doctor, lawyer, engineer. She could have been anything she wanted to be, and she chose to use her intelligence and those smarts in a criminal matter and got her hand caught in the cookie jar. You hear me talk about this all the time with young folks that talk about chasing the bag by any means necessary, even if it crosses the line into criminality. And this young lady, 32 years old, had her whole life in front of her, and now she's going to spend, she's 32, and she got sentenced to 16 years in prison. So that's half. She's going to do 16 years, which would be half of how old she is today. She will potentially be 48, 50 years old getting out of prison. We must try to manifest our truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way. So let's get into the story. So Miss Kyrika Wortham has been sentenced for stealing more than $9.4 million from Amazon.com while employed as a manager for the company. 7 other individuals, including Wortham, have now been charged in connection with the scheme. The defendant abused her position of trust at Amazon to steal nearly $10 million from the company based on a brazen fraud scheme involving fake vendors and fictitious invoices, said U.S. Attorney Ryan K. Buchanan. She then committed new crimes while on bond, even creating a fake dismissal document purporting to be from the court, and that included a forged signature of the chief U.S. district judge, all for the purposes of misleading a franchising company about the status of her criminal charges. Her prison sentence recognizes the magnitude of her fraud and serves to protect the integrity of our courts and justice system. The Secret Service takes cases of fraud extremely seriously, said Special Agent in charge of the U.S. Secret Service's Atlanta field office, Stephen Basil. This individual stole millions from a business that employed her, exploiting not only their trust, but our nation's financial systems. Thanks to the hard work of our partners in the U.S. Attorney's Office, her sentence reflects the seriousness of her crimes and sends a message that this kind of fraudulent activity will not be tolerated. According to U.S. Attorney Buchanan, The charges and other information presented in court, Karika Wortham abused her position in Amazon to submit more than $10 million in fictitious invoices for fake vendors, causing Amazon to pay approximately $9.4 million to Wortham and her co-conspirators. So this is how the whole situation went down, the scheme. From about August 2020 to March 2022, Wortham worked as an operations manager at the Amazon warehouse in Smyrna, Georgia. In her position, Wortham supervised others and acted with the authority to approve new vendors and the payment of vendor invoices for Amazon. Wortham, who was the leader of the scheme, provided fake vendor information to unknowing subordinates and asked them to put the information into Amazon's vendor system. Once the information was entered, Wortham approved the fake vendors, enabling them to submit invoices. Wortham and co-conspirators then submitted fictitious invoices to Amazon, falsely representing that the vendors had provided goods and services to Amazon. Wortham approved the invoices, causing Amazon to transfer millions in fraudulent proceeds to bank accounts controlled by her and her conspirators. Wortham conspired with others, including Brittany Hudson in the scheme. Hudson was in a relationship with Wortham and owned a business called Legend Express LLC that contracted with Amazon to deliver packages to customers. Hudson allegedly worked with Wortham to submit millions in fictitious invoices for fake vendors to Amazon. Wortham and Hudson, this is what they did with the money: chasing the bag by any means necessary and becoming a slave to material things on earth. None of this you can take with you when you pass. Listen to what they purchased. Wortham and Hudson purchased expensive real estate and luxury cars, including a nearly $1 million home in Smyrna, Georgia, a 2019 Lamborghini Urus, a 2021 Dodge Durango, a 2022 Tesla Model X, a 2018 Porsche Panamera, and a Kawasaki ZX636 motorcycle, all with fraudulent proceeds from the scheme. Wortham also recruited co-conspirators, Demetrius Hines, who was in loss prevention at Amazon, and LaQuisha Blanchard, who worked as a senior human resources assistant at the company. Hines and Blanchard provided names and social security numbers to Wortham to create additional fake vendor accounts. Blanchard provided names of relatives and associates. Hines provided stolen personal identifying information that he purchased from Jaquan Frazier. These are all the people involved, who in turn allegedly purchased the information from Darrell Burgo, also known as Fleet. Hines and Blanchard were paid in fraudulent proceeds. Hines also recruited Jamar L. James Sr., another operations manager at Amazon's location in Duluth, Georgia, into the scheme. Like Wortham, James allegedly approved fake vendors and fictitious invoices, including after Wortham left Amazon in March of 2022. While on bond, and she even gets in more trouble. Karika Wortham and Hudson committed a new criminal conduct that resulted in the revocation of their bonds. While they were out on bond, they even committed more crimes. But listen to what they did. This has to do with the courtrooms, the courts. In January 2023, they were working with CRU Franchising Company to open a hookah lounge in Midtown Atlanta. During the due diligence to close the deal, CRU discovered and asked about the Amazon fraud charges against them. In response, Karika Wortham and Hudson allegedly lied to CRU, claiming that the Amazon-related criminal charges were dismissed. The two then emailed fraudulent court documents to CRU that purported to show the dismissal of the charges and contained forged signatures of the Chief U.S. District Judge Timothy C. Batten Sr. So they forged the Chief District Judge's name on a illegal document saying that their case had been dismissed. That's even another crime. And forged seals and signatures of the clerk of the court. Hudson also allegedly emailed CRU doctored bank statements and personal financial statements that fraudulently inflated the balances in her accounts to support the franchise deal. Kayrika Wortham, also known as Kayrika Dupree or Kayrika Young, 32 of Atlanta, Georgia, was sentenced by Chief U.S. District Judge Timothy C. Batten Sr. to 16 years in prison, to be followed by 3 years of supervised release in order to pay restitution to Amazon in the amount of $9,469,731.45. More than $2.7 million in fraudulent proceeds seized from multiple bank accounts. They seized the residence in Smyrna, Georgia, and the vehicles purchased with fraudulent proceeds were forfeited. Wortham was convicted of the Amazon fraud charges on November 30th, 2022, after she pleaded guilty. She has been indicted for defrauding CRU and forging the signature of a federal judge and seal of the court. Those charges remain pending. On June 20th, 2023, a federal grand jury indicted Brittany Hudson, 37 of Atlanta, Georgia, and Jamar L. James, Sr., 47 of Calera, Alabama, for conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering, and Hudson for forging the signature of a federal judge and seal of the court. Darrell J. Burgo, 32 of Lawrenceville, Georgia, was charged in the same indictment with conspiracy, access device fraud, and aggravated identity theft. Those charges are pending. For their roles in this scheme, on November 30th, 2022, Demetrius Hines pleaded guilty to wire fraud conspiracy. On June 27th, 2023, LaQuisha Blanchard pleaded guilty to wire fraud conspiracy. And on June 27th, 2023, Jaquan Frazier pleaded guilty to misprision of a felony. Judge Batten will sentence these three individuals at a later date. What an incredible, crazy case. I try to bring you cases to open your eyes and ears up. There's a lot of chaos and disorder going on in many of our cities throughout our country, and chasing the bag by any means necessary is not the way to go. Living your life, manifesting your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way is the way to go. Hard work, delayed gratification will lead you to a positive, healthy life. Definitely if it's centered around God in your life, you will end up being in a better place.